Hello YouTube, Starburp here. And pretty much there is a couple of ways that you can level in World of Warcraft. Until level 15, you don't have that many options. You're kind of stuck with questing. And if you're not a big fan of questing and you like other ways to level, the best way to level after level 15 is dungeons. If you do dungeons, you will level really quickly. And that's pretty much where you go into a group with a tank, a healer, and 3 DPS, whichever role you're playing of those. And you, the DPS being damage per second is how we refer to damage dealers. And you pretty much go in there and you kill a whole bunch of minions and kill bosses and then get nice loot for your level for it, as well as a whole bunch of experience. I mean, you'll level really quickly. It's the best way to level in the game. The queue is a little bit longer for damage dealers. On most though, especially on weekends, it's not that bad. And throughout the week, it can get bad depending on certain level brackets. It can be bad, but it averages about 5 to 7 minutes for damage dealers. For tanks and healers, it's instant. Although at some levels there might be more healers than tanks and more tanks than healers, so you might have to wait 2 to 3 minutes, but usually it's like instant pop in like seconds for a tank and healer. So if you're a damage dealer and you're leveling as a damage dealer, if you get into a dungeon group, it's best to try and stick with the group that you got, and definitely add the people so you can invite them later, because you can't add people from different servers on battle tag and stuff like that. That being said, how you get into the other option is that, besides questing obviously in dungeons, is that you can do PvP. Now it doesn't grant too much experience until you have the random battleground option, or if you can do 2v2 arenas, which arenas are a little bit more difficult to rank level up in and stuff like that, but it's still options that you can do. So I'd recommend waiting until random battleground opens up. And the battlegrounds can be a little bit long to cross if you don't have a mount. So it's better to start PvPing at level 20, because I think you'll have random battleground available and at least your first mount speed. So, but dungeons can get you to level 20 really quickly if you're not too fond of dungeon system, or if you're playing a damage dealer and you don't want to quest or wait on a dungeon queue if it happens to be particularly bad that day. So how you queue for this stuff is the default button's H. If you look down here at my action bars to the right, you have your interface panel, which has all the character and spell stuff I was going over earlier. And you can also get to the dungeon guide by, I mean the God, it's not showing the PvP one up there, but you can click on Group Finder, which is the I here, and then that will pop up the PvP tab, Player vs. Player tab. And you can see that you can queue for random battlegrounds. You can even choose to exclude certain battlegrounds you don't like or your faction might not be doing particularly good at. Which for Horde, I have no idea why that's the case. It's Altart Valley and Isles of Conquest, so I have those excluded for when I random. But you can only exclude a maximum of 2 and still get the full random uh, reward, whether that be currency and experience. If you're a lower level, for us higher players, it's just mostly some form of currency or, stuff items that we might use. You also have the arena skirmish. There's world events, PvP events that you can partake in that happen quite often. Some are all throughout the day and all 24/7. Other ones are like once an hour, like once every single 2 hours. And then there's a brawl, which is random. It's like 5 days long, and then there's 5 days without it, and then Blizzard throws us a new brawl. Where pretty much they sit there and they throw together a custom battleground that's very unique for us. That's not in traditional battlegrounds that you can choose from. There's capture the flag and all different kinds of modes, other modes and stuff like that. They do a very good job of making these battlegrounds pretty fun, especially since the abilities and spells in the game add enough flair and diversity to the situations as it is. As you can see, there's a decent amount of battlegrounds there, at least 10. So, yeah, that's pretty nice. And then that's the PvP tab on casual here. There's also a level cap progressional rated PvP that you can do, as well as you can challenge people in war games. So if you know a squad of 10 people and you want to challenge another squad of 10 people, you can do that unranked and just like practice versus each other in arenas even. And you can find groups to prepare for different stuff at higher levels as well: arenas, arena skirmishes, battlegrounds, rated, etc., etc. Now going into the dungeon side of the thing, there's random dungeons, queuing system like I told you here, and you just select your role. You usually select this if you know all the dungeons. This pretty much says I'm a group leader, I can give advice. Don't select this if you don't know. And you pretty much select your dungeon type that you want to do and you queue into it. The other thing that you can do is once you get high enough levels to start accessing some of the raids, you can do looking for raid finder, and you can get some decent gear and epics out of there. Even for lower level raids, like I think you might be able to do them around LFR. I mean, I don't know if they enabled LFR for the older raids like level 60, which you'll definitely be able to do it at 85 or higher. And then you can also do pre-made groups for PvE and stuff like that for higher levels and stuff like that. So pretty much those are the three different ways to level in World of Warcraft. I guess since I kind of hit this, I should go over the end game World of Warcraft. There's pretty much PvP. There's questing and collecting various achievements and mounts and pets throughout the world. So, and there's rated battlegrounds, which can earn you mounts and different outfits and stuff like that. And the same thing with arenas. But the 3v3 arena, if you get really high rank in it, you can actually earn money and go to BlizzCon and earn lots of money as well if you're like the top ranked players. They battle it off at BlizzCon. The semi qualifying rounds have from like $5,000 to $10,000 entry rewards for winning your regions. And then as you get into BlizzCon, like down to like the last 5 teams, I know first place ranges between, sometimes it's $1 million split between 3 people, other times it's $500,000 split between 3 people. So if you're really good at PvP games and you want to sit there and work your way up and see if you can actually get somewhere with that, that's one way to go. The other thing that you can do is progressional raiding. There's multiple different kinds of raids in World of Warcraft. Make sure that, I know as a new player to World of Warcraft, you might sit there and have heard that the raids are like the best thing about WoW. And then you go in there and you solo a raid and you're like, what the heck? The reason for that is because they made a lot of the older raids soloable, so newer players can go back and farm items and stuff like that. The raids that are always the most difficult are the newer raids, the most challenging ones, and the current ones for that active expansion, which isn't really that bad to figure out which ones those are once you get used to the game and stuff like that. It also has an adventure guide, which is the Shift J, where it recommends content for your level. And it's also this little, it's next to the horse. It looks like a book with a skull. I'm sorry, I play at high resolution, so it's a little bit difficult to see. But yeah, pretty much it will say suggested content. Take a look. Go do these quests. Go do these dungeons. Go do these battlegrounds. Go do these raids. And you can even look at the latest raids for the latest expansion, just on the drop-down menu, because Legion's the latest, and you can see which raids, and it will even show you on the map. Show on the map where to find this raid, and you can check that way. So it will make it easier for you to find out your way around. For the raids, there's really easy, which is looking for raid finder, where you just queue up with a whole bunch of random people like you do in a dungeon finder, and you just go in there. It's 25 people, 2 tanks, 5 healers, 18 DPS, and then there's normal, which can be anywhere between 10 and 25 people. Same with heroic, can be anywhere between 10 and 25 people, but you have to pre-form. Typically a 10-man group will have 2 healers, sometimes 3, 2 tanks, and 5 to 6 DPS, depending on how many healers you have. And if a 14, you might have 3 healers, 2 tanks, and 9 DPS. Some people are really ballsy and still run 2 healers or 14. Other people don't. And then generally speaking, anything between 15, even 15, 16 can be 3 healed. But 17 to 25 is going to have 4 healers, and definitely a lot of groups from 21 to 25 are going to run 5 healers. So, yeah, always 2 tanks though. For the majority of the fights in this game, you won't need a 3rd tank, and if so, usually there's a melee DPS in a group that can switch. Normal is a little bit more difficult than LFR. LFR, you can kind of get through it without knowing the mechanics because it's not that punishing. It will hurt, but if you have good healers in LFR, it's possible that they'll heal you and you won't even notice that you were getting hurt by something that you were standing in. In normal, you won't be able to do that. unless you're in a group that drastically outgears normal. And heroic, you'll have additional mechanics that aren't in LFR or normal, and you'll definitely won't be able to do that. If you mess up in heroic, you're gonna die. If possibly not kill everybody else in your raid group. And Mythic, you can't have 25 people. You can only have 20 people. And in World of Warcraft, you get saved to a boss. So let's say if you go into a raid on 10 or 25, if you go into a raid on an LFR, normal, or heroic, and it's a lot easier to find people because uh, if you get saved to a boss for loot. Once you get loot from that boss, you can't get loot from that boss anymore for that week. However, let's say that like you guys are 3 bosses in, somebody won't get saved to the 2 bosses before that, although they're already dead if they come into your raid group, because they weren't there for the killing of those 2 or 3 bosses before that. However, they will get killed to whatever boss, saved to whatever boss they do kill in there with you. So they can go in there, help your group out, and then go back into another group and get the bosses that they're missing. And you can do the same thing at any point. The only group that doesn't work that way is Mythic. Mythic is way difficult, way more mechanics, and all the mechanics pretty much one-shot everybody, so you can't mess up on them at all. And you can only take 20 people into Mythic. And unlike in Heroic and Normal and LFR, where you can interchange people a lot and still get away with it, and you can even go, even if you full clear the raid on Normal and Heroic, you can, in LFR, you can still go in there and help your friends in any of those modes, help them clear with the gear that you received, and help it make it easier for them because they might not have gone with you, you know? On Mythic, that's not the case. On Mythic, pretty much you can only have 20 people, and if 2 of those people can't make it the next raid day or leave the raid or something like that, you can't get 2 new people to replace them. You're forced to go into a raid that's really difficult and designed for 20 people with 18 people. So yeah, just it's Mythic groups are really difficult to get into, and they're really difficult to create. So yeah, that being said, dungeons have a similar system where there's normal, heroic, and mythic pluses. So dungeons can get to the point where the mythic level is so high in dungeons that it even drops heroic raid equivalent gear, because raids typically drop better gear than dungeons. So dungeons can have normal difficulty, which is really easy. You level in normal dungeons pretty much, throughout your dungeon queuing experience. Heroic is usually the highest difficulty. I mean, the difficulty above normal for that level, and then there's mythic, and it goes like mythic plus 2 all the way to like 15 at least. I think it might go beyond 15, but the highest my girlfriend and I have ever been 14 is 14. There's an achievement for getting mythic 10. There's an achievement for getting mythic 15, and the highest we got was 14 before some douchebag left our group and blew up my key. So that's that. So you can do mythic, and it adds in mechanics, and it stacks up those mechanics even higher to the point that they hit harder and do more. Like there's stuff called like necrotic, where it absorbs healing. So like every single time that like somebody receives an auto attack, so like if the tank gets auto attacked by like 3 different minions at once, or 3 different adds at once, they will stack up like a 10% healing increase for each auto attack. And then necrotics can get like 200% like effectiveness. So that means that instead it might heal, like it might absorb 20% per an auto attack or 40% per an auto attack. So like you have to heal the tank for 120% of its of the tank's maximum health, which can be very high sometimes, before it will actually receive a heal. So it just adds like a whole entire different way of how you have to deal with the fights as you go into them, because obviously a healer can't heal all that. So you have to try and control the ads, so only one is hitting the tank at a time with like crowd controls and like a whole bunch of other stuff. So it really spices up the dungeons and makes them drastically more difficult. That being said, is that there's non-combatant pets in here, because obviously like I have my water elemental that fights for me as a frost mage. Warlocks have their demons, hunters have their whatever they tamed out there in the wild. Wolves, bears, man, bear, wolf, pig, spider, spider bear, spider pig. Yeah, so there's non-combatant pets, and pretty much that's in the pet journal here, and you can collect them throughout the world, and you use your pets to collect them throughout the world, like Pokemon. And there's even trainers, and you can earn various pet rewards for beating all the trainers throughout all the World of Warcraft, which World of Warcraft is very big, and there is a lot of trainers that they added. And you can level up all your different pets here. It's not my main focus, as you can see. I have a lot of pets, but they're not really leveled. And you can even find queue, find battle other players in pet battles. And similar to the arena system where you earn ranking, you can actually rank higher and higher in pet battles and get really massive rewards for getting a certain amount of wins. And it's not just like very unique, rare pets that nobody else would get, you know, maybe for that pet season. I'm talking about like costumes for your pets, where they can get like nice little tuxedos and hats and stuff like that. Or you can make them look all shiny and like get like certain special leashes or collars for your pets. So, you know, they look really awesome. You can even get all these different kinds of gadgets that make you look like your pet, that shrink you down to the size of your pet, that make your pet look like you, that make your pet the same size as you, so people aren't sure if you're you or your pet's you, or you know. So like you can get a whole bunch of fun stuff, you know. And there's all different kinds of toys and appearances that you can collect to say to different gear and stuff like that, because you can customize your appearance of any items that you collect throughout the world, that you can apply to customize different sets. You know, you see how my set looks. This isn't the actual gear I'm wearing. The actual gear I'm wearing looks more something like this. It doesn't really all fit, you know, so I made it customized to how I'd want my character to look. So this is how my character would look without transmogrification. So I pretty much made myself look, you know, how I want my character to look. And you can collect this stuff by just questing in the world, or going out hunting rare monsters in the world, or just doing raids and stuff. So there's literally like endless amounts of stuff to do on World of Warcraft. And you don't have to do all of it. You can play more casually and just do looking for raid, or you can play more seriously, or you can play in between. Depends on your schedule and depends on what you want to do. So that's pretty much how you can level in World of Warcraft, and that's all the different kinds of things you can do for endgame in World of Warcraft. I hope that this was enough to cover all the stuff. I'll upload these to YouTube as they are, but I'm also going to customize these videos to make them a little bit nicer and, you know, clearer to read and have better footage going along with it. Anyways, thank you. Hope you guys enjoy the game if you give it a shot. It's also free up to level 20. So, but yeah.